Welcome to Shelf Life on Jamaicans.com. As always, I'm going to ask you to like the page, drop a comment in the section below, and share this episode with your friends. It's a very special episode. You're going to want to share it. Hi, and welcome to Shelf Life. Today, I have the pleasure, the honor, and the privilege of speaking with a lady who is behind so much reggae music, so much in the reggae industry, and in such a male-dominated industry, she rises above and she has stood tall above them all. Miss Pat from VP Records. I'm going to be talking to her about her life and her book, Miss Pat, My Reggae Music Journey. This book is more than just about her. It's about reggae music, and boy, I love my reggae music. And so I've been looking forward to this chat. So join me. Miss Pat, I have been so looking forward to this because no music in the world like reggae music, okay? So to be able to sit and talk with a lady who is behind so much of our reggae music in such a male-dominated industry is a pleasure and an honor for me. Welcome to Shelf Life.
Thank you very much for that introduction. And I'm very happy and pleased to be here to share my 60 years journey with you and the audience.
It's been 60 brilliant years. I couldn't put down the book because not only is it a book about you, but it is a book about our music. And that is what, and not from the scholarly standpoint, you know, we've read the books where they catalog everything as a scholar and an academic and the people who studied musicology and all that kind of stuff. This is from you on the ground, step by step, plodding and making your way. But before we get to that, I want to start with your beginnings because music was not where you started. And people sometimes only see the outcome, they don't know where you started. You started in Greenwich Farm. You're from Kingston. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and, you know, how you ended up with Vincent, because that was interesting.
Well, you know, my dad is a full East Indian. His father migrated from India, reached Jamaica. My mother is full Chinese. Her family also from China. So I had two different mixed marriage, my Indian side and my Chinese side. Mm-hmm. I know I was a little different, but I couldn't understand why. I was born in Kingston 13, I think Greenwich Farm. Went to government school until I was about 13. Didn't do so well in school, but I go along. But I remember when I was about 12, we were very, very poor. As I describe in my book, the one bedroom we lived in had everything in the room.
Wow.
From the bicycle that we put in the night after the doors almost closed, to one bed, one bureau, everything in that one bedroom. I remember going to school barefoot.
Wow.
We didn't even have puss. You know, puss is what we call butter. What they call it? Yeah, the butter shoes was puss. We call it puss. So we had to whiten it on weekend time, wash it and take the white and whiten it. Mm-hmm. So I grew up about 12. When I was about 12, my dad got a job at a haberdashery. And he could have got the rubber bands in big boxes, you know, the rubber bands that we take for granted now.
Right.
And marbles. Marbles came in different size, big, small, medium, tiny. And those were the toys of the day. 70, 80 years ago, we didn't have much toys. I was so surprised. I was so surprised when I came here and see how much toys they have, specialized toy store. And sweet store and donut store. That really marveled me because back home we didn't have those stores.
No, we didn't have anything like that. But you know, before you even go on, I want to make this point because it's growing up in Jamaica. My mom is half Chinese, and growing up in Jamaica, you never thought of Chinese people as being poor. That was never something that you grew up thinking. So that is not something that we're used to hearing. And so I was very intrigued that you were honest in your book about your upbringing and about coming from poverty. But continue, you were talking about your dad and the haberdashery and the rubber band.
Well, he bought the big box of rubber band and marbles. And what I did is to sell them during school lunchtime so that I would get my lunch money. And I think that's from where my sense of development of doing, sell something that somebody likes and enjoy. And then I wanted to, my dad wanted me to work in a bank because at that time, 60 years ago, 80 years ago, bank job was very high esteem, you know, way up there, like how they dress, how they talk. But I didn't want to work in the bank, so I wanted to be a nurse. So I took the course, an online course, and I passed, and I went to university for 2 years. And then a little before that, I met my husband, got pregnant, threw up the nursing, start to work with him in the jukebox, changing jukebox records all through the island.
Okay,
and
so
that's why I get the love of music. That's how I developed the love of music, to see how happy the people were when he brought in those new records to change the jukebox. If anybody don't know about jukebox, it's a little machine that's in the bar and the restaurants and the clubs. They drop a quarter. It wasn't a quarter at that time. It was shillings and pence. Or shillings and pence. You drop a shilling and you get 5. You can pick 5 records that you like. And that's how people have their enjoyment.
The arm going to pick up the record and it put it on and play.
It's a fascinating machine.
I know.
I will just stay and watch it and see how happy the people were when Vincent came in with the box of new records. That time we didn't have Jamaican record, we only have American record. Percy Slade, Dream Reeves, Sam Cooke, you name it, Elvis Presley, Aretha Franklin. Those are the ones I grew up with.
Yes.
Then in 1962, when we had independence, Jamaica, I think that really spurred us to make our own music. Because in those days, our music didn't play on the radio, you know. They thought it wasn't good music.
No.
We didn't get to play on the radio.
And you know what, that actually continued for quite a while, because I'm a 60s baby. I'm an independence baby. So I'm familiar with the pound, shilling, and pence and the jukebox and all that kind of stuff, because I used to be fascinated by the jukebox. I used to just stand up there and watch the thing, just pick up and
take the record and then put it on. And it's a very nice machine, because and it at that time was one of the most like entertaining for people.
Yes.
Because if you don't have money to go to the dance, then that's the next thing. You go in the square, or you go in the bar, or you go in the club, and you just punch your little cents and you get a record, you play. Yeah. So that's where my love started with music.
So Vincent used to actually distribute the music in the jukeboxes. And then you kind of went into business, because you had these leftover songs when you take out the old ones, and you went into business and set up this little shop, Randy's.
Yes. First of all, my husband was still working with the jukebox company.
Okay.
His friend had a weightlifting, like they sell weightlifting chemicals to build you up. I don't know what you call those things to build you up.
Yeah.
So we rented a little space, another little aisle, and that's where we started to sell a jukebox record.
Okay.
And not realizing so much people loved the old records because they couldn't get them in the store to buy.
Right.
And we sell like 5 for 10 cents or 10 for 20 cents. Very cheap where they could afford it. And it was so full, and especially in weekend time. 3 people come in, we have to wait till 3 people come out, 3 people come in. we did so well till we move up at 17 North Parade. Because his father had a friend at a restaurant, a big restaurant at 17 North Parade. But the restaurant was so big, it didn't do well. So we rented another 10 by 10 space, parted off with bag wire. Not bag wire, no, the partition wire. If you look in my book, you will see the store.
Yes, I saw the store.
And then I started to sell one record, LPs, Percy Slade, Dream Reeves. I got a West Indian record, which is my former Prime Minister owned that record, Eddie Seago. And even maybe about 20 years ago, he came to New York when he releases his 100 book. We did a project for him with 100 songs.
Yes.
So when he came to tour and to sign his CD, So I said, Mr. Siaga, you remember me? He said, of course, how could I forget you? You're the only woman come down, they come by 1-1 records.
And you,
and a female at that, and a female at that.
you know, as you talk about by 1-1 records, and this is, I'm going to kind of jump around sometimes because there is a quote in your book that stuck with me from Judith, where she says, you were the first one to buy 500 copies of Black Woman. Black Woman is one of my favorite albums of all time, like all time. Because I used to sing back then, and every song on that album I would sing. But that album was dear to me. But from 17 North Street, and that's where you opened Randy's, right?
Yes, and we give the name Randy's because my husband liked that name. He used to listen to a radio in Tennessee, and the guy was Randy, something or another, but he loved that name, so we just called the store Randy's Record.
And of course,
and it's there we stay for 20 years down there. Until we buy out the restaurant, we buy next door, we build a studio, and that's how the journey starts.
Right.
Reggae music. I remember Chris Blackwell, you know, because in 1950, 1960, Bob Marley never get famous, you know.
No.
He was just another singer like everybody else. And I remember Chris Blackwell coming to sell me some of my 45 records, you know. And he remembered that too.
Wow.
You know, those were the days.
But through the
just so innocent.
Yeah, through the record shop and the studio, you met and interacted with so many of our greats. I know Vincent, when you first hear Randy's records, you figure Vincent's name must have been Randy, but his name was Vincent.
Right.
But
he loved that name.
You met and interacted with so many of our greats, and he was in the studio most of the time, and you were in the record shop.
Right.
But this was side by side.
He was a very social level people, because even when the musician came down there, don't care how they look and they have no shoes on or anything, he said, okay, go play. So it's $20 an hour. Sometimes I don't have the $20, you take $10. Okay, when you come back again, you pay, or when you make a hit, you pay. So that's how we operated it, you know. We were selling music, but it wasn't different from a Chinese shop, because the same community that we build around us, it's the same like how the Chinese people go in the worst neighborhood and build a little shop and service the community.
Yes.
So my studio and my store become the community for music. Everybody in music congregate there. If you want a musician, a backup singer, everything was right there. So when the guys them doing their session and they want a backup singer, they want something with a little shocker, just call downstairs, somebody go up and get a little job. It was an agency for music. People buying, people selling, people talking about music, musicians, artists, producer, trying to get a job upstairs.
What an amazing environment. And what was even more amazing is that you as a woman, you as a Chinese woman in the 60s was making inroads in an area that most people would think you had no business in. You know,
and I did not know that my line of work, it was a man's job. I didn't know that, because I just saw myself working just like the people on the sidewalk selling fruits. I'm just selling record, that's all. We are women, just know that we have to do what we have to do, look after the kids, the house, and if you get a job, you have to work.
Yeah.
So it's until I come up here, I realized that I was doing a man's job.
Wow.
Because when I come up and I was selling telemarketing, they might tell me, say, oh, can you put on a man to me? I said, why you want a man on the phone? I don't think you know what I want. But little did they know I spent 20 years on the counter. So I know every artist, every producer, every label, every rhythm, every done over rhythm. I knew it all. Everything was in my head.
So the hurdles that you faced as a woman in this industry, you really only faced when you came to the States.
Yes.
In Jamaica, you were just accepted.
Yes, because we grew up with Black people all around us. My mother used to send us go to Clapham. Every Friday and Saturday, we go beside, you know, they all have Clapham meetings on the street. She said, I want to go on, because we never have any entertainment. So we go to Clapham. So I grew up with, I'm Chinese Indian, but I'm also Black, because I grew up with all Blacks around me, because we didn't know color. We just know that We're a
We're all
community.
Jamaican.
Yeah,
All
we're
Jamaican.
Jamaican first. We're Jamaican first.
Jamaica.
Right.
I'm glad you put it that way, because yes, we do have a little class issue in Jamaica. We can't ignore it and pretend it's not there. But at the end of the day, we are Jamaican first. All of that breakdown when it comes to who is Jamaican and who is not Jamaican, we don't really business about any of that. All of that falls apart. At the end of the day, we are Jamaican first. And I'm glad you put it that way. So when you came here to the States now, when you came to the States, and there is so much packed into this book, because this book is not just about you, it's an actual history of our music. It's a history of our reggae music, from ska, from mento to ska, to rocksteady, to reggae, to dancehall. And as I said earlier on, and you went through, and that's what I love about it, is that I have read the books that the scholars have written, but this is you experiencing every single step of the way. So when you came here to the States, what made you come, first of all? What made you and Vincent decide to pack up and come?
Well, you know, from 1975, we felt a tension, because there's so much riot and thing going on.
So the political issues. Yeah.
Political unrest. Sometime in the days, we have to close the shop 3-4 times. We bring in our friends on the sidewalk that sell. Until when the riot finish and them gone, then we open back. And all 3-4 times, and then when the kids were coming home from school, we feared their lives too. So we said, oh God, we can't live this way. We were fearful of our life, because, you know, you have to have life even before you have hope. Life comes first. So when we have life, we'll have hope. So Vincent said, you know, we better move, because his brother lived here 10 years before we came. So we were said, let's go to Florida. And afterward, we said, why did it take so long to get the paperwork? We just come to his brother and help us to get the paper through. And so Vincent came up like 1975, and then 2 years after, three years after I came up. So I was left to run the studio and the shop and pack the trailer with food and music, because you couldn't carry more than $50 out, you know.
I remember those days. I remember those days.
And you remember all gun court and all them things?
Yes, I remember gun court.
Time.
Yeah, I remember gun court.
A terrible time. So when the trailer come up, the custom officer said, so Miss Chin, why you carry so much food? Why are you taking so much food? We don't have a famine here, you know. I said, sir, well, we don't have the money to buy the food, so we have to carry the food. I carry oil, saltfish, flour, rice, you name it, to serve me for 2 years. So we didn't have to have no money to buy the food. You have to have food to live, right? I have oil so that all of them sleep of our children with not knowing that we're good oil. Because when you come up here, you want American products. So you're going to buy corn oil and all them things. Because you're so naive. And you realize coconut oil was the best oil. Now people all about to use it as jelly.
I know. But when you moved here, your brother-in-law, Keith, already had a store.
Yes, he had a store in Brooklyn named Chin Randy's. So when we started the little store, we didn't have any name for it, because we couldn't get it Randy's, because he had that name already.
Right.
So when me and Vincent, that's how we have to register the store now. We run it for about a couple months well before we have a name. When we got to go register, and the man asked me, so what's the name of the business? Stand up, Christ, Vincent, look at me. What's the name of the business? All we could think of is we name Vincent and Pat. So that's why we said V&P.
So that's where the VP came from.
Yeah, so the name came from VP, because we never have no name for the shop. You know, when you're up here, you don't know where your mind, it's in a different space. You don't know if you live in Jamaica or you live here. Things you're looking for, I wonder if I live it here or carry it here. Them living them sister basement for 2 years. And let me tell you, it was so hard. We go back 20 years backward. Because when we came here, you know, we were well off in Jamaica, because the shop was doing good, the studio. But we're getting back 20 years backward. 20 years backward.
You know, I think it happens to all of us when we migrate. Because they say it takes about 10 years for you to really get your footing. And at first, when I moved, and I've been back to Jamaica to live, and I've been back here, so I kind of live in both places, although COVID have me locked down. But they are right. It takes about 10 years for you to really find your footing and to make a
Yes.
home out of it, because
Well, I should say that's about the time too, because the first 10 years we're just trying to build customer, trying to know the culture, trying to really work hard. And, you know, I remember going to Brooklyn all 3-4 times to go sell something 45 records. And as the van come back, them call again for a couple more. There were a couple of reggae stores here before us, you know, but what they usually do is send to Jamaica to buy their music.
Okay.
So when I came up here, now I do wholesale, so they could buy all the different labels they wanted. So we used to have a delivery van, so we carry the record, go deliver. When I'm ordered on the phone, we carry, go deliver, Brooklyn and Bronx and the near states. And pure telemarketing, we didn't know the customer. We didn't know them much.
And we didn't call it, we didn't even know it was telemarketing at the time.
We didn't know it was telemarketing. When my grandfather used to credit at the shop, all the same days put something on a paper when the people credit. I don't know how they know. They couldn't talk English. The blacks couldn't talk Chinese. How the hell they know their face? So face recognition was over 100 years ago. So my grandfather writes something, stick it down on the nail, and when they come in, look for it and pay, and they credit again. So I was always marvel how they know their names, because they couldn't talk. None of them could talk to each other.
Facial rec, man, facial rec. Yes. Nothing new. We've been doing it in our head a long time. A long time.
Before adding machine come on, everybody used to have things in them head. Every phone number you know in your head.
And yes, everything you knew in your head. So we're gonna pick up from where you changed over to VP now. And VP Records was now, this is to show how far ahead of your time you were, because now you were distributing all of the Jamaican music to anybody who wanted to buy it, which was just unusual and not being done. And VP has stayed ahead of the curve every single step of the way. You bought your building on Jamaica Avenue, which was a milestone in itself. And everybody who has ever been to New York and gone to Jamaica Avenue know the VP Records building.
Yes, and we start back the same way we start in Jamaica. 10 by 10 space with a little basement, selling $275 a week.
Wow.
To where we are. And then we went down to the block and buy out that little building from the man. And God has been so good to us along the way, because there's a Jewish lady that used to work with that man where we bought the building from. She stayed and worked with us over 10 years.
Wow.
And she taught us, she was like a mother to us. Because she was older than us. We were like 45 and she was near her 60s. She's like a mother to us. She teaches us the rope. She even learned to rap with the customer. And our client is mostly Black people. So she learned to rap with them if them short. She said, okay, I'm going to lend you this. When you come back, you pay me.
Wow.
I tell you, Mrs. Bernstein, I'll never forget her.
There is a truth about giving out to the universe that which you would like to get back. There is a truth about treating people well and that being a blessing on you. And everything that I've ever heard about Miss Pat has been just how wonderful she has been. And just reading your book, I realized how much you have done for reggae music and for musicians and for artists and people who are just starting. And that is all part of the blessings. But your journey was not without its own fair share of heartache, because at one point you decided to open your headquarters down here in Miramar in South Florida, and you went through a journey with your husband not being well, and you and your kids having to carry on the business.
Yes, we all went through struggle and dark times, and some of the dark times that I had, thank God I had the music and I had good family and friends who really helped us. And the business helped us, because when you go to work, for that time that you're there, you have to do a service. So you have to know your music, you have to sell the customer, you have to pay your bills. Well, it was very hard. My husband got depressed, and it just like a chapter in my life that was very dark.
Yeah, but it's good that you were able to open up and talk about it, because a lot of times we don't talk about those areas. And those are the things that help to motivate others when they realize that even with all that you had achieved and you and Vincent had achieved, you still had to deal with the everyday depressions and problems that the rest of us have to deal with. It's just life. It's just life as it is. And you have to carry on, which you and the kids did. And we're going to jump to the dancehall era because dancehall came into being. And in 1997, you signed Beanie Man.
Yes.
And Beanie Man just kicked down and shelled down the place with Who Am I? The Girl, Them Sugar. And that was, I think, a milestone for VP, wasn't it? It kind of propelled us a step further.
When I came here, I thought because they knew Bob Marley, I took over a lot of roots music. But I didn't associate it too much till when the dancehall come on. I guess the dancehall is similar to the hip hop, so they associate it more. But when the dancehall take over, man, we couldn't stop it. All the dancehall artists just was selling right up, even up to now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess to me, the dancehall is a self-expression. I've never been to the dance until when I come up here, like Christmas time. My reverend have a little charity dance, and I see how much the people love dancing. Oh my God. They dance 1 whole hour reggae. I mean, then the soca, reggae, lovers rock, and then the dancehall. When the dancehall start, I tell you, everybody start dancing the way they want to dance it. Some dancing very expressive, some dancing hugging up. It just opens my eyes to see.
We are an expressive people, though, and especially those of us with African background and African heritage. We are an expressive people, and I love dancehall music. I can't take the slack lyrics. Let me just put that out there. I can't deal with it. It's for a different. There's an audience for it, and I'm not big on censorship. There's an audience for it. It's not my audience, but a dancehall rhythm. Now, I have been known to stand up on my feet from Sumfest start and Sunsplash start till it finished next morning and dance the whole night, because I can dance all night to reggae. I mean, I can be awake I can play reggae all day, all night and not miss anything else. Even though I do love pretty much every music, as somebody who is a radio personality, I play a lot of different music. But reggae is my music, and that dancehall rhythm is infectious.
Yes.
It's so infectious. And it's, again, you look at, this Chinese lady, and you listen to the dancehall music coming out of her label, and you think, wow, at the end of the day, like you said, we're all Jamaican. We're Jamaican first. And it's about Jamaica. It's about the music.
And let me tell you, music is one of the things that God has given us.
Yes, it is.
When we're sad, we sing. When we're happy, we sing. When we're working, we sing. When we're washing clothes by the riverside, we sing. When we go to church, we sing. When we're wedding, we sing. Funeral, we sing. We sing for everything. So we are gifted with music.
Yeah, one good thing about music, when it hits,
when it hits you, as Bob Marley said, there's no pain. It's joy and happiness. Because you'll maybe go in the dance hall to a dance and you feel a little down or you have a grouse with someone. When you come out that dance, it's a different perspective in your head. It's our therapy. It's our therapy.
You're good. So before I conclude this wonderful, because I could chat to you all day, right? But I want people to buy the book. So I'm not giving them all the information that's in the book, because this book is a must buy. And this book is a must buy the same way that the VP calendar is a must have. But
yes, every year we started the calendar, maybe 6 years now. But people seem to like the calendar,
Love it.
So we just try. We try to.
Yeah, I have pictures on my wall that are from your calendar with the artists. Yes, in my reggae corner. But it's a must-buy book. But how did you handle the transition from record to CD and now everything digital? How
well, you see, I am blessed to have my sons working with me. because the hardest time, I think, we know all the sequence from the 45 to the 78, to the LP, to the cassette, but I think the hardest part is when we went digital, because we didn't know about digital. It was always on tape, and we had to digitalize every song. It must have taken 2-3 years.
The whole catalog.
The whole catalog. So first of all, when he came to work with me, Randy, that's my second son, because he had worked in California in aeronautics. He never sort of liked the music so much. So when he come to work with me 25 years ago, he said, Mom, he have to do over the whole catalog because we spell the name wrong. We put the S when we never put the S. We never have no structure. we just put it out because we have to put it out. We never know business. I mean, we never go to school to learn business.
Right.
We only do it day by day and try to do the best you can. We do everything, try to do better each day. And as the music change, we try to change and be ahead of the curve, because we know when the music going to change from ska to dancehall to reggae to dub and German. We just have to know, because we're Jamaican. And we have to know our culture.
And you have stayed ahead of the curve. You have stayed ahead of the curve. And VP is just known for producing the absolute most excellent products. From your shows, your YouTube shows, to everything about VP is excellent. Miss Pat, as I say, when you come into South Florida, I will be right there front and center for my signed book. Make sure you walk with calendar, because homegirl didn't get no calendar this year. Make sure you walk with the calendar. And thank you so very much on behalf of Jamaica, on behalf of our people. Thank you for 60 years of service to our reggae community, to our music, to our artists, to all of us, producing and giving us music that makes us happy, that heals us, that takes us from tears to laughter. I want to just say thank you. Thank you.
And I also want to thank you and all of the reggae fans, Judith, because if it's not for the fans, the producers, the artists, the DJs, everyone in the music industry, we couldn't have a name VP Records. So we like to thank you, Judith, and all the people that really can showcase us the way you have done it this morning. And all the reggae fans, all the people around the world who are listening, one love. Go forward for reggae music at all times. And buy my book. And by the way, I want to tell you that the proceeds from my book is going to the Vincent and Pat Foundation to help musicians, to help youth, and to showcase and preserve reggae music.
That is brilliant. See, people, that's why you have to buy the book, not just because it's a good book, but because it is continuing work. And this is work that will go on long after we have moved on to our next stop on this journey. Okay, so
yes, and as you said, that the format is always changing, but our music will ever be there, regardless of what format it come in for the next 10-15 years. Reggae music and music on a whole will always be there.
Music is heavenly. Thank you very much, Miss Pat, for this wonderful chat. Thank you for taking time out to spend with me, and I'll see you when it's safe for you to travel and you're in South Florida. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
And the same to you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining me today on Shelf Life. I'm sure you found that interesting. You got to run out and get this book. Very, very good book. Exciting story of reggae music. And I'll see you again next week, same place, same time, for another Shelf Life, and we'll see what else I have on my shelf. In the meantime, check out my website, jfalloon-reid.com. Check out my YouTube page and just get to know a bit more about what I do. Blessings. Walk good.